Today I bring you quite a bit of good Tesla news, and we will start with a story with Gary Black because he surprised me by making this post here. FSD V13.2 is now tracking at 505 miles per critical disengagement, which is a huge step change improvement from V12.5. And now pay attention to this. If this rate of improvement persists as more data comes in, this could give investors increased confidence that unsupervised autonomy is likely by 2026. This tracker certainly has its flaws, but based on this data, there's definitely a huge improvement. And it's making a material difference because without it, probably Gary Black wouldn't be this positive about this FSD release. Tesla still needs to improve its critical miles per disengagement by about 30 times before it can deploy robotaxis. And it always makes me smile when Gary Black compares other companies like, for example, Waymo from Google with Tesla, saying that they are doing great. You have to remember that all of these companies are geofenced. Tesla is actually selling the old and the new Model Y at the same time. You can still buy the old, new Model Y. Not a used one, it's a new Model Y, but the old version. And this is specifically in China. So people are getting a little bit confused about that, but it actually makes sense when you think about it. We are talking about the best-selling car in the world, produced in 4 factories on 3 continents, 1.2 million units a year. The typical playbook won't work here. Ramping this up while still selling the old one will be necessary. Tesla has never completed a product transition at this scale before. And Tesla here, I think, is exceeding expectations. The new Tesla Model Y refresh already racked up 50,000 orders on the launch day in China alone. These are not official figures, but these are likely to be true. And we know that single stores were seeing over 100 orders each. For example, there's someone from one store who confirmed, a Tesla employee, that they had nearly 300 orders on the launch day. Here's the post confirming that. And this basically confirms that there are indeed definitely a lot of orders. The first deliveries were expected to begin in March, but according to local salespeople, due to high demand, that timeline has been pushed back to now April or May. So this is definitely very good. We also know that the price of the new Model Y is actually a little bit higher, so Tesla's margins will go up. But still, we haven't heard anything about the refresh Model Y in the US. And what's also interesting, Tesla's Asia account hasn't even mentioned the refresh Model Y. So they're doing this launch so silently, and yet we are having so many orders. Currently, it seems like many investors are expecting the refresh Model Y to appear in the US pretty soon for consumers to be able to order it. I'm seeing some say that it's going to happen in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Although I wouldn't count on it, I think it's certainly realistic for that to happen. And more good news here, Morgan Stanley just increased their price target for Tesla stock from $400 to $430. And now they have a new bull case valuation of $800 actually. Supposedly, their increased optimism about Tesla's robotaxis is what's driving their increases. Their $800 per share bull case assumes that Tesla will end up with a fleet of 12 million vehicles by 2040. I assume these are robotaxis, generating $1.50 per mile in revenue with a margin of 45%. If analysts from Morgan Stanley really took the time to think this through, and if they really believe that Tesla will have over 10 million robotaxis, making money for Tesla, if they really consider the implications of that, they would realize Tesla would have a lot more than just 10 million robotaxis. And they also would have to consider what it would mean for the Tesla bot. If you can have 10 million robotaxis on the roads, that means you can have Tesla bots that can definitely navigate complex environments. And what happens to Tesla stock when Tesla solves a problem that seems to be impossible to solve? And not only solves it, but clearly starts making money from it? An explosion happens, just like this one. And some of you who became Tesla stock investors for the first time this year already got a taste of that. And that's nothing compared to what's about to come in the future. Because I strongly believe that the future is AI, and Tesla is so well positioned to take advantage of AI with its full self-driving technology and Tesla bots. It's not just me. For example, Jim Thor, who manages tens of billions of dollars, he believes that Tesla will lead the next phase of AI growth and that Tesla stock will go to $700. He sent out this email to investment advisors to keep it simple. Tesla stock is 2.5% of the S&P 500. If that is your reference index, then owning less than 2.5% implies you are underweight the next IT stock. Recall Nvidia is 7% of the S&P 500, and the Mag 7 is over 30% of the S&P 500, and Trump's cabinet is full of the tech vanguard. He continues, in my honest opinion, being short tech and Bitcoin right now is the high risk play. Risk is perverse, as they say. Now, personally, I happen to own quite a bit more than just 2.5% of Tesla stock in my stock portfolio. Actually, my stock portfolio consists 100% of just Tesla stock. And I'm not the only one. Stephen Mark Ryan from Solving the Money Problem just made a video that it's 2025 and he explains why he's still all in on Tesla stock in his stock portfolio. There are some people doubting that Tesla will release a compact vehicle this year, but I think this illustrates pretty well of what's actually going to happen. These are excerpts from 3 Tesla earnings calls from Q1, Q2, and Q3 of 2024. If Tesla releases a compact vehicle, that is quite material to Tesla's stock this year, because some analysts are still not expecting it, so some investors would be caught off guard. In Q1, Tesla said, we have updated our future vehicle lineup to accelerate the launch of new models ahead of our previously communicated start of production in the second half of 2025. These new vehicles, including more affordable models, will utilize aspects of the next generation platform as well as aspects of our current platforms. Q2, plan for new vehicles, including more affordable models, remain on track for start of production in the first half of 2025. Note that the refreshed Model Y is not more affordable, so this is definitely not the refreshed Model Y that they are talking about. And then Q3, plans for new vehicles, including more affordable models, which does not include the refreshed Model Y, remain on track for start of production in the first half of 2025. That timeline has not moved for 3 earnings calls. Now, the timeline might shift a little bit, and we will find out about that on the next earnings call, which is happening very soon on January 29th, which is going to be a Wednesday. And during that call, we'll have a lot more clarity about that next vehicle. So this earnings call will be quite important to watch. And Wall Street is definitely going to be watching this earnings call closely, and depending on what Tesla says about the next vehicle, that could make Tesla stock go up substantially, or maybe we would be presented with a slightly bigger buying opportunity right after the earnings call. Gary Black here is commenting about Wall Street, and he's saying that Wall Street is not by nature short-term focused. Many of us go out 5 or more years to forecast Tesla volumes, earnings, and cash flows. And by the way, later he makes a point that sort of contradicts him. And he continues, and then discount the future value back to the present. The problem is that there was too much hype in the past few years about Tesla volumes growing at 50% year over year, which caused earnings to fall far short of estimates, which caused Tesla to severely underperform. I'm confident in Tesla's future growth, but investors need to keep expectations in check. Farzad says Wall Street is the definition of short-term focused. It's quite difficult for me to go through this post without having a huge smile on my face. Some on Wall Street are short-term focused, but most take a 5 to 10 year perspective when valuing companies. Okay, so 5 to 10 years, keep this in mind. 5 to 10 years. And then Gary Black continues by saying, the reason Tesla has underperformed over the past 5 to 10 years, sorry, he said over the past 3 years. Now, just here, I thought it was said that they take a perspective of 5 to 10 years. So shouldn't we look at the last 5 to 10 years? Why are we looking at the last 3 years? With Tesla, to me, at least, it's pretty obvious that it's actually easier to know roughly what's going to happen to Tesla in the very long term, so 10 years from now, as in it's going to go up a lot, comparing to what it's going to do in the next 6 to 12 months, which can fluctuate widely. The 52-week high of Tesla stock is $488. The 52-week low, so just 1 year, $138. You're telling me that Wall Street perfectly understands this company and that Tesla was valued perfectly accurately for the last 365 days, causing a swing of multiple times in terms of valuation, I would find that statement extremely hard to believe to be accurate. In a span of just 365 days, I don't believe that Tesla became about very roughly 3 times more valuable. For years, it's been obvious that Tesla would solve full self-driving eventually and that they would make it safer than human driving. And only now some people are catching up to that. But it doesn't mean that that wasn't true before. If you really thought about it and thought about it in the long term, it's obvious. It's the obvious conclusion. But it's not going to be obvious to people that get paid based on their yearly performance. And people like that would stay away from Tesla because you could hold Tesla stock for 5 years and end up actually with less money than you started with, not even considering inflation. But if you are patient enough, you were rewarded extremely generously. And this is just, it just makes me laugh. Europe's largest pension fund says it sold its entire $585 million stake in Tesla stock in Q3, partly due to Elon Musk's compensation package. The fund voted against it and thought it was exceptionally high. If they had held, their Tesla stake would now be worth over $1.1 billion. They would have doubled their money, basically. Even Elon Musk commented on this story, so they lost $500 million and failed their constituents. Steven Mark Ryan has a pretty long-term Tesla stock valuation model, and I think this is a pretty accurate reflection of it. It's basically 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and this is actually quite a bit bigger than right now. Someone was missing Elon's posts, and Elon actually replied to why he wasn't posting. He explains, "I'm recovering from a neck surgery. Hurts a lot, but it was necessary." For those who didn't know, Elon actually fought a sumo wrestler once. He ran full force at a 350-pound sumo wrestler in order to overcome the roughly 50 kilo difference in mass via velocity in the momentum exchange. He did knock him over, but smashed his neck in the process. Thus, to quote Elon Musk, "Proving once and for all that I am indeed a retard," says Elon. These AI picture generators are getting too good. This looks too real. But wait, is this a real picture of Elon? This might be Elon. I'm not 100% sure, but this does seem, whoever this is does have a resemblance of Elon, so I think it's Elon. I thought this was like a generic picture of a sumo wrestler, but no, I think that's the sumo wrestler that Elon fought against. Here's some more good news. Tesla is now rolling out the V12.6.1 version to all Hardware 3 vehicles, which is basically a distilled V13 of FSD software. And Elon actually reposted this from Amit. He just said that he had one of the most incredible experiences in his life. He took a 40-minute drive to Jersey City using FSD V13, and he had 0 interventions for 40 minutes in New York City, going through complex highway turns, residential areas, all 0 interventions. Switching lanes, waiting for people to cross the road, getting onto ramps. Not one time did I have to stop the car and take over the wheel. So he just experienced the feature. Not only did he think about it, imagine it, but he actually experienced it, he lived it. And he actually said he felt more productive. Of course, now you can't use your phone with FSD yet, but he was free to think for 40 minutes. I actually find myself doing this too. If I have to drive, it's during rush hour. There are many cars around me. Some of them are a bit, they're not good drivers. They're a bit dangerous. They try to cut me off sometimes. But when I have FSD, I just feel so much more relaxed and I actually have space in my brain to think and not worry about someone crashing into me because I wasn't paying enough attention. So he thought about business, life, and goals without having to worry about pressing the pedal or the steering wheel. And this experience alone made him feel so much happier and productive during his drive that now it is hard for him to imagine going on any drive longer than 20 minutes without FSD. If it's more than 10 minutes or more than 5, I start to get really annoyed now. If for some reason I'm not using FSD or I cannot use FSD, for example, I'm driving someone else's car. He even says FSD drives better than me and will be better than any human without a question. This is coming from someone who 2 years ago wouldn't dare to even think of putting himself in a car that could drive itself. This experience even makes him laugh at the entire advertising debate around Tesla, because if you make it safer than human driving, then you don't need advertising. The feature will just advertise itself. This is the advertisement. One 40-minute drive will sell anyone on the concept of FSD. They are going to get millions of people paying $8,000 for this product, and with 90% margins, I don't see how Tesla isn't one day one of the most valuable companies on the planet Earth. It just takes one ride, especially on V13, for someone to realize where this world is headed. He finishes with beyond impressed and still in awe of what I experienced today. I have a prediction. We will see a lot more posts like this. With the first release of V12, we saw a few, but not from New York City, not from the most complex urban environments ever created by humans. But now we are seeing people go challenge the most difficult urban environments. And remember, Tesla is not in New York City. Tesla is in San Francisco. So when you see a drive from San Francisco, you think, okay, well, there are more Teslas over there, and maybe Tesla is doing something that we are not aware of. But New York City? You can't fake that. And it's 40 minutes. And I believe him because I've seen other people drive in New York City and post incredibly good drives from New York City that are 40 minutes long, 1 hour long, 90 minutes long, even when it's raining. And here's someone else who said he just took a 2,000-mile road trip. It was profound. Its performance especially impressed me during a miserable stretch of heavy rain and fog. He couldn't see 5 feet in front of him, but the car just kept driving, seeing everything around him. He didn't mention interventions. I assume there definitely were some. It's a 2,000-mile journey after all. But there's a quote here which is really fitting. It's not a caterpillar, it's a butterfly. There are people that make things happen, there are people that watch things happen, and then there are people that wonder what happened. Years from now, there will be many people wondering what just happened. How come this car can drive me anywhere? I just sit in it and it's safer than a human driver. It's a robo-taxi, and yet it just takes me everywhere. How come I didn't see it? There will be so many people like that. The majority of the world's population will be like that. But some of us who are in Tesla stock see the future, and we understand that it is inevitable for Tesla to solve FSD and make it safer than human driving. And we are seeing progress with our very own eyes. It's happening right now. This is indeed truly profound. And we have some early reviews of FSD v12.6.1. I definitely don't expect it to be as good as v13, but the initial impressions seem to be wow. And it does have end-to-end highway, and it absolutely drives like a human on highways, changes lanes at the appropriate time and early enough. Lane changes are happening immediately, and the car leaves the passing lane exactly the way I would do it. Which earlier, it was on the highway, it was okay, but it felt a little bit robotic for me driving on FSD on the highway. I would still put it on FSD, but it's just a different feel. It is also smoother. The controller improvement is mind-blowing. No jitters, no awkward hesitations. Car feels like it knows what it's doing. If it is really quite a bit better, then maybe Tesla doesn't need to upgrade the hardware. I think the chances are there's a good chance Tesla may need to upgrade hardware 3 eventually, but clearly there's still room for improvement just upgrading the software, even if it's a hardware 3 vehicle, because this release proves it. And check this out. George Hotz is a Tesla competitor, and he says he drove around with Tesla FSD V13 this morning. If you haven't tried it, it's really good. So he's admitting that V13 is actually really good. So when competitors praise you, you know you have won. And here's some more good news. Tesla just increased prices on all versions of the Model Y in Canada, actually, and we don't have the refresh Model Y there yet. So why is Tesla increasing the price? I think there are 2 reasons. Number 1, either the demand is up, or number 2, the refresh Model Y is about to come to Canada and by extension to the US as well. And Tesla is making preparation moves to get ready for the refresh Model Y. But this is a bit interesting with the price has been increased. Now, considering that the Tesla Model Y has now lost the $5,000 federal rebate due to the price being too high and therefore being above the minimum or maximum threshold, the price has gone up by a lot more than $1,000. It's actually $6,000 for most people who can get that rebate. There has just been another spotting of the refresh Model Y in San Francisco in California. Tesla is still hiding the front and the back of the vehicle, but we know it's a refresh Model Y. It's interesting that they're not showing it to us yet in California. Tesla made a design choice with a new refresh Model Y that got some Tesla stock investors wondering why did they do this. For example, in the Cybertruck, the light bar is basically one single piece, and I believe the same is true about the Cybercab. But in the refresh Model Y, it's not true. These are actually separate parts. So the light bar consists of a light here, then there's a middle light, and then there's, of course, the regular light again. So you have at least 3 parts here compared to, I believe, just one. Typically, you would think combining the parts into one would cost less money, but someone says it's actually less expensive to make them separate. And Sawyer thinks if these lights would have cost less money, then we would have seen the same design in the Cybercab, but that vehicle just has one light. And that vehicle is designed to be as low cost as possible. Although I'm not really sure about the doors. I mean, the doors open up. I think that's more expensive. And here's how a Model S would look if it had a light bar as well. I love this look. Well, we just got some leaked pictures of some of the first few Model Ys that just came off the production line in Giga Shanghai. And I definitely think that some angles are not exactly very flattering. This is probably not the best angle, and this picture was taken with the phone probably. I think from this angle, for example, it looks pretty good. I think whoever took this photo probably used a wide lens, which distorts a lot of the objects, especially if they are close to the camera. And also remember, then the refresh Model 3 came out. Some people actually didn't like it. For example, there's a post here. The new Model 3 still doesn't look better than the old Model 3. This is not cope, it is just facts. I think personally the new design is a winner. And I definitely agree with Omar here. The Model Y didn't become the best-selling vehicle on Earth because people fell in love with the look of an obese Model 3. It became the best-selling vehicle because for your average person, it's the best all-around vehicle on the market. Functional, high-tech, and affordable. And if you can afford it, and if you want to buy it, FSD. And what's really impressive about the Model Y is that, look at this, in China, it's outselling vehicles that are half the price, or even 1/3 the price. Oh, and we just learned about this. Production for the new Model Y in Giga Berlin is about to start quickly. Tesla plans to start producing the new Model Y in the factory as early as this Tuesday, so tomorrow. The management informed its employees about this on Monday. So I would expect the US to follow as well very soon. Looking at this piece of news, you may think, oh, it's actually bad news, but no. It's good news. The Chinese BEV market just grew 23% year over year, and Tesla's China sales grew about 9%, meaning that Tesla actually lost market share in China despite its record sales performance. But that fails to account for the segments that Tesla compete in. There are a lot more cheaper vehicles in China now competing in completely different segments. And Tesla is about to launch a more affordable compact vehicle, so we will see how it goes then, and I predict and I expect that that vehicle is going to crush the competition. And the good news there was that China's BEV market is growing, so when Tesla launches its new vehicle later, the market will be bigger, so there will be a lot more room to grow that vehicle in terms of scale and volume, which will allow Tesla to make it even cheaper. And here we can see Tesla's performance 2024 versus 2023 in terms of how many vehicles it sold in each country. You can see the number of units, and then if you look closely, you'll also see the percentage of change in terms of year-over-year sales. In the US, it is estimated that Tesla sold about 5% less cars year over year. In Germany, the sales dropped by 41% and in France by 35%. This is largely explained with subsidies being taken away from EVs. And we do have markets that are important like South Korea, which grew by 81% year over year. That's pretty big. And Tesla is doing something pretty honorable here. Elon Musk says, apologies to those expecting Cybertruck deliveries in California over the next few days. We need to use those trucks as mobile base stations to provide power to Starlink internet terminals in areas of LA without connectivity. A new truck will be delivered in the week. This weekend, Elon was seen at Mar-a-Lago. And this was after surgery already, and he's smiling a lot. So clearly, the surgery must have been okay. If there were issues, they definitely weren't too bad. And the surgery doesn't seem to have been so bad that he wouldn't be able to go and meet important people. He says it still hurts though, but it was necessary. We got an update on the next Starship flight. It will happen on Wednesday, January 15th. The launch window will open at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Elon also posted this. There will be probably another 10 meters added to the Starship stack before we increase its diameter. So that's an increase of not quite 10%, but it's going to be substantial. We'll see how this goes, but this is good for Tesla. The president of China said he's ready to strengthen relations with the United States. Tesla also just reached a pretty big milestone. Tesla has officially overtaken Audi in global car sales for the first time ever. Audi sold 1.67 million vehicles last year, down 12% year over year. Also, deliveries of fully electric models from Audi declined by 8% year over year globally. Keep in mind that Audi is a 115-year-old brand, and now Tesla is beating it. That's it for today's Tesla stock news, but there's one more story I want to share with you. Elon Musk commented on this by saying he's not wrong. Andrew Tate is actually running for Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And I reported on him before a little bit, so I want to follow up and show this to you as well. So Elon Musk is saying that he's not wrong, as in, my success, even if I do not become Prime Minister, will force the parties of the UK to address the issues they don't want to address. It's certainly not something that I was expecting, but this will be quite entertaining to watch and see. Anyway, I believe that Tesla stock is going to $1,000 per share, and eventually, after that, well above it. My name is Matt Pocius. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, probably on Wednesday.